There's an uncomfortable truth that almost no one dares to say. You're not as much in control of your own life as you think. And no, this isn't a conspiracy theory. It's pure human dynamics. Every day, small decisions that seem like yours have already been, in practice, influenced by someone. A comment here, a silence there, a subtle approval. And when you realize it, you're already acting exactly as someone wanted. The most dangerous part. It doesn't come across as manipulation. It comes across as friendship, advice, opportunity, and that's precisely why it works. As Niccolo Machiavelli taught, real power doesn't shout. It infiltrates, it disguises itself, it becomes invisible. And while you believe you're deciding, someone is charting the course for you. Now think about it. Why do some people always seem to be one step ahead? Why do some conversations end exactly as they want? Why do certain people never have to try so hard to get what they want? It's not luck. It's not magical charisma. It's strategy. It's reading behavior. It's politics guided by reality, not by ideals. These people understand something that most ignore. The world doesn't work based on justice, but on perception, influence, and positioning. And they use this every day, sometimes subtly, sometimes with surgical precision, but always intentionally. And here's the point that might bother you. If you don't understand these rules, you're being affected by them, even without realizing it. But here's the twist, and perhaps the most important part of this video. You don't have to keep being led. You can learn to see the game. You can identify the patterns. You can understand the invisible rules that shape behavior, decisions, and relationships. And when that happens, something profoundly changes. You stop reacting automatically and start acting intentionally. You stop being a pawn and start becoming a player. And that's exactly what you're going to learn now. The 6 hidden laws that shape human behavior, influence decisions, and are used silently by those at the top of the game. The question is simple. Will you continue to be influenced, or will you finally begin to see? If something inside you awakened while listening, don't ignore that feeling. This channel isn't about videos, it's about memories. Remember who you were before the fear, before the exhaustion, before the silence. Each new video here is a different reflection of your own soul, an invitation to understand what the world never taught you. The power you seek outside has always been within you. If you feel that this journey speaks to what lives silently within you, sign up now. Not to follow yet another creator, but to reconnect with something the world tried to make you forget. Because here, every word was made to heal, each reflection to awaken, and each video serves as a reminder. You are not alone on the path back to yourself. Click on subscribe and turn the algorithm into a daily reminder of who you really are. He hasn't realized it yet, but a good portion of the decisions he thinks are his have already been silently influenced by someone. It's not explicit. Nobody comes along saying, "I'm going to manipulate you now." On the contrary, it happens in the details, in the tone of voice of someone who suggests something, in the opinion repeated several times, in the way certain behaviors are rewarded or ignored. It's a subtle game. And, as Niccolo Machiavelli would say, true power rarely shows itself directly. It infiltrates, it molds, it guides. And those who don't understand this end up being guided without even realizing it. The most curious thing is that this happens every day. At work, when someone kindly directs a decision. In friendships, when opinions are shaped to avoid conflict. Even at home, where small influences create patterns. And look, this isn't necessarily pure malice. Often it's just people playing the game of social survival. But here's an essential point. Decisions based on real human nature show that everyone seeks advantage, approval, or control, even unconsciously. And when you don't notice this movement, you become a cog in the machine, not a player. Now think about it. How many times has he done something just to avoid judgment? How many times has he changed his mind to maintain harmony? How many times has he accepted something that deep down he didn't want just because it seemed easier? This is not a coincidence. This is influence operating silently. There's a widely sold idea that we are totally free, totally autonomous, but this is more of an appearance of virtue than reality. In practice, we are constantly being shaped by contexts, by people, and by interests. And here comes one of the first keys. Politics guided by reality, not by ideals. The world doesn't work based on how it should be, but rather on how it really is. And the reality is simple. Those who understand human behavior influence. Those who don't understand are influenced. A practical example. Imagine a work environment where someone always compliments you before asking for something. It seems like kindness, right? But in reality, this creates an emotional debt. And when you realize it, you've already said yes without even thinking. That's strategy. That's a game. And here comes the most uncomfortable and necessary part. He's not just being influenced, he's being conditioned. Small patterns are reinforced until they become automatic. Reactions, responses, behaviors, everything is adjusted based on the environment. It's as if, little by little, someone is writing an invisible script and he's just following it. The problem isn't that the game exists, the problem is not knowing it's happening. Because the moment you don't see the game, you lose any chance of controlling it. And this is where a powerful, almost uncomfortable idea comes in. The end justifies the means, not in a simplistic moral sense, but in the understanding that results are shaped by strategies, not by good intentions. Those who play well, advance. Those who play badly, obey. And without realizing it, he's already inside something bigger, a field where every gesture, every silence, and every reaction has strategic weight. But that is only the beginning. Because when he starts looking around more closely, he'll realize it's not just about people, it's about the entire environment functioning as a veritable invisible battlefield. He begins to realize, but he still can't quite name what's happening. There's something in the air, a subtle, almost imperceptible tension. It's not an open war. There are no shouts, no direct confrontation. On the contrary, everything seems too calm. And that's precisely where the danger lies. Because the real game never happens in the noise, but in the silence. Every environment, be it an office, a group of friends, or even a family, functions as a power arena disguised as harmony. People smile, agree, praise. But behind that, they are constantly adjusting positions, measuring forces, seeking advantage. It's the kind of dynamic that Niccolo Machiavelli described with precision. Power is not merely exercised, it is staged. And those who don't perceive this staging believe that everything is spontaneous, but it isn't. There is intention, there always is. He begins to notice patterns. That person who speaks little, but when they do, everyone pays attention. That colleague who never engages in direct conflict, but always gets what they want. That friendship that seems light, but, curiously, always steers decisions in a specific direction. None of this is random. This is the calculated use of force, not physical, but psychological. And here's an important detail. Force isn't about shouting louder, it's about influencing more deeply. Often the one who seems most calm is the one who is most in control, because they understood a simple thing. It's better to be feared than loved, but above all, to avoid being hated. That is, to maintain an image pleasant enough not to generate resistance, but firm enough to command respect. A practical example. Observe who sets the pace of conversations, who changes the subject whenever they want, who ends discussions without seeming rude. That's the player. The others are just reacting. And then he realizes something even more subtle and more dangerous. Approval, silence, and even kindness can be strategic tools. Not all praise is sincere. Not all silence is neutrality. Not all kindness is altruism. Often, they are movements within the game. Praise can be a way to create space for influence. Silence can be a way to let the other person expose themselves. Kindness can be a way to create emotional dependence. And here comes constant adaptability. Whoever masters the game adjusts their posture according to the environment, like someone who changes masks without anyone noticing. They laugh when they need to laugh, agree when it's convenient, remain silent when it generates more power. And meanwhile, the others continue to believe that everything is natural, but it isn't. It's strategy. It's reading the environment. It's understanding real human nature. And the more he observes, the more he realizes that it's not enough to just be present in the game. It's necessary to understand where it really begins. And curiously, this next step isn't in the environment, but in how he is perceived within it. He finally begins to see, but now a greater discomfort arises. It doesn't matter so much who he is. What matters is how he is perceived. This shatters a very common, almost naive belief that being true automatically guarantees respect. It doesn't. The world doesn't react to essence. It reacts to image. And that changes everything. Because from the moment he understands this, he realizes he's playing a game where perception is the first battlefield. And whoever loses that battlefield loses before even starting. As Niccolo Machiavelli already pointed out, the appearance of virtue is often more powerful than virtue itself. Not because character doesn't matter, but because people judge based on what they can see and not on what is hidden. And the truth is simple, almost uncomfortable. Whoever doesn't control their own image ends up being controlled by the image that others construct about them. Now he begins to recall specific situations. That time he was underestimated, not because he was incapable, but because he seemed insecure. Or when someone with less competence took control, simply because they exuded more confidence. This isn't fair, but it's real. Politics guided by reality, not ideals. The game doesn't necessarily reward the most competent, but the best perceived. And here comes a powerful strategic adjustment. Posture, tone of voice, timing, and even silence build authority. A practical example. In a meeting, someone who speaks less but with precision tends to be seen as more confident than someone who talks too much trying to prove their worth. Another example, someone who takes a little longer to respond instead of reacting impulsively conveys emotional control, and that in the power game is worth its weight in gold. These are details, but it is these details that shape perception. And perception shapes influence. And then he understands something even deeper. Perception isn't just about how others see him, but about how he allows himself to be seen. There's a fine line between authenticity and excessive exposure. Those who show everything lose their advantage. Those who reveal their intentions too early give the game away. Here enters a logic that few accept, but many practice. The end justifies the means in a strategic sense, protecting information, controlling what is revealed and when. This doesn't mean becoming false, but rather selective, intelligent, strategic. It's as if he begins to edit his own presence in the world, highlighting what strengthens his position and concealing what could be used against him. And little by little, he realizes that it's not just about acting, but about how each action will be interpreted. Because in the end, the game isn't about reality itself, it's about how others interpret it. And it's precisely at this point that the game begins to become more technical, almost like a set of invisible rules that few see, but that everyone obeys. Now he's not just observing, he's starting to decipher patterns. The game ceases to be abstract and begins to reveal its silent rules. They aren't written laws, nobody teaches them openly, but they're there, operating all the time. The first one is simple and brutal. People act for gain, not for kindness. This doesn't mean nobody is good, but it means that deep down there's always an interest, whether emotional, social, or material. Whoever understands this stops deluding themselves and starts analyzing, what does this person gain from this? This is decision-making based on real human nature. A practical example, when someone helps you a lot for no apparent reason, don't reject it, but also don't ignore the context. It could be connection, it could be strategy, it could be building influence. The second law follows immediately: silence. Whoever talks too much exposes themselves, reveals intentions, shows weaknesses. Whoever knows when to be silent controls the pace. In meetings, negotiations, or even personal conversations, silence creates pressure. And whoever withstands this silence usually wins. The third law is almost counterintuitive: unpredictability. Being completely predictable is comfortable for others and dangerous for you, because when they know exactly how you react, they can easily manipulate you. Those who vary, who break patterns, who don't always react the same way, create respect and caution around them. This connects to the fourth law: scarcity. What is always available loses value. Those who are always accessible, always responding quickly, always saying yes, become predictable and disposable. Those who moderate their presence, who aren't always available, who select where and with whom they invest their time, naturally become more valued. This isn't arrogance, it's strategy. It's virtù and fortuna operating together. Skill in positioning oneself and intelligence in seizing the right moment. Think of someone who responds immediately to everything versus someone who responds at the right time with precision. Who seems more in control? And then come the two most subtle and perhaps most powerful laws. The fifth, psychological distance. Excessive emotional closeness reduces your strategic power. When you reveal everything, when you expose yourself too much, when you constantly seek validation, you give away your position. This doesn't mean being cold, but rather conscious, knowing how far to go, knowing what to show. And finally, the sixth law, strategic deception. Not in the vulgar sense of lying, but in the sense of not revealing your intentions until it's too late to stop them. This is the calculated use of force, not aggressive, but intelligent. Many of the greatest movements in history happened this way. Discreet at the beginning, inevitable at the end. And here comes a crucial point that echoes throughout strategy. It's better to be feared than loved, but always avoid being hated. That is, maintain control without generating direct resistance. He begins to realize that these laws are not optional. They are already being used around him. The only question now is, will he continue to be affected by them, or will he begin to use them consciously? Now, he's no longer naive, but he's not necessarily a player yet. There's a huge difference between seeing the game and knowing how to play it. Because seeing the rules doesn't mean mastering them. And this is where most fail. They understand, but don't apply them. They know, but can't sustain it. The first real step to winning this invisible game isn't external, it's internal. It's emotional detachment. As long as he reacts based on impulse, need for approval, or fear of rejection, he remains predictable. And whoever is predictable is controllable. Mastery begins when he learns to observe before reacting, when he holds back a response instead of responding immediately, when he chooses not to engage in certain discussions even if he could win. This isn't weakness, it's the calculated use of force. It's understanding that not every battle is worth fighting. A simple example: someone provokes him expecting a reaction. If he reacts, he loses control. If he observes, he maintains power, and this completely changes the dynamic. The second pillar is strategic restraint. Not everything he thinks needs to be said. Not everything he feels needs to be shown. There's a huge difference between being authentic and being overly transparent. Those who expose everything reveal their strategy prematurely. And here comes a mindset that few develop, the appearance of virtue. This doesn't mean being false, but rather understanding that the world responds better to a well-constructed image than to raw exposure. He may be insecure inside, but if he conveys firmness, the world reacts to firmness. He may be in doubt, but if he communicates clearly, the environment responds with respect. Politics guided by reality, not ideals. And a practical example of this. In negotiations, whoever demonstrates need loses power. Whoever demonstrates control, even if at a disadvantage, creates room for negotiation. This happens all the time, but only those who are paying attention notice. And finally, calm presence. This is perhaps the most powerful and rarest element. In a world where everyone is reacting, justifying themselves, explaining themselves, those who remain calm automatically stand out. They don't rush. They don't despair. They don't try to prove their worth all the time. They simply are. And this communicates strength. It's almost as if they operate at a different pace. And this generates something silent, but powerful. Respect. Because deep down, everyone recognizes who is in control of themselves. And here comes the synthesis of everything, virtu and fortuna. The ability to act intelligently, and the timing to act at the right moment. They begin to realize that winning the game isn't about dominating others, it's about not being dominated, and little by little they stop reacting to the environment and begin to influence it. But this is only the turning point, because when someone stops being manipulated, something even greater happens. They begin to see that they can finally chart their own course. Now, he no longer sees the world the same way, and that changes everything. What once seemed casual now reveals patterns. What once seemed spontaneous now shows intention, and above all, what once seemed normal now appears strategic. He understands that it wasn't a lack of intelligence, it was a lack of awareness of the game. Because nobody teaches this directly. Nobody comes and says, this is a power arena. On the contrary, everything is masked with cordiality, with good intentions, with an appearance of virtue. But deep down, the dynamics were always there. And the great turning point is this. When he begins to see, he stops reacting automatically. He creates space between stimulus and response. And in that space, control is born. As Niccolo Machiavelli taught, it's not about living in an ideal world, but about acting based on reality. And the reality is clear. Whoever understands the game writes their own script. He then realizes that it was never about dominating others, but about not being dominated. This completely changes his attitude. He no longer needs to prove anything all the time. He doesn't need to engage in every discussion. He doesn't need to please to be accepted. On the contrary, he begins to choose where to invest his energy, to choose when to speak, to choose when to withdraw. This is constant adaptability. It's reading the environment, adjusting behavior, and acting with intention. And here's a powerful detail. His own loyal armies. Not in the literal sense, but in the construction of strategic relationships. People who respect him, who recognize his value, who walk alongside him. He stops seeking everyone's approval and starts strengthening connections with those who truly matter. A practical example, instead of trying to be accepted by any group, he observes who has aligned values, who demonstrates consistency, and invests there. This reduces noise and increases power. And then, almost without realizing it, he changes his position in the game. from someone who was influenced to someone who influences, from someone who reacted to someone who anticipates, from someone who followed to someone who builds. And here comes one of the most misinterpreted but fundamental ideas. The end justifies the means when understood as conscious strategy and responsibility for one's own choices. It's not about manipulating for the sake of manipulating, but about acting with clarity, intention, and direction. Because in the end, everyone is playing. The only difference is who knows it and who doesn't. And he now knows. He understands that power is not noise, it's positioning. It's not imposition, it's perception. It's not brute force, it's applied intelligence. And from that point on, the game ceases to be a threat and becomes a tool. But this change brings one last, almost inevitable question. If he now sees all this, what exactly will he do with this knowledge? Now let me ask you a direct question. How many of your decisions today were truly your own? How many were influenced by fear, by approval, by context, by someone who knew exactly where to strike? The truth is simple and hard to swallow. The game has always been going on. The difference is that, until now, you may have been playing without knowing it. And that comes at a high price. It costs opportunities, it costs respect, it costs taking a stand. Because in the real world, politics guided by reality, not ideals, those who don't understand the rules pay the price of those who do. And this isn't about becoming cold or manipulative. It's about awareness, about clarity, about stopping living on autopilot and starting to see what's behind the interactions. Now think about this and answer honestly. Will you continue to be predictable? Will you continue reacting the same way, playing the same games, falling into the same patterns? Or will you start observing more, talking less, and acting with intention? Because that's what separates those who are led from those who lead. Better to be feared than loved, perhaps. But above all, it's about avoiding being ignored and ceasing to be easily read. The world respects those who take a stand, who control their emotions, who don't give everything away at once. And this doesn't happen by chance. It comes from practice, from awareness, from decision, small at first, but powerful over time. And now comes the final point, or rather, the beginning of everything. What are you going to do with this? Are you going to watch, find it interesting, and then follow suit? Or are you going to apply it? Are you going to test it? Are you going to observe people, patterns, reactions? Because knowledge without application is just entertainment. And you didn't get this far to be just another spectator. So tell me in the comments, which of these laws do you see happening most in your life today? Which one had you never stopped to consider? I want to know. And if this type of content has opened your mind in any way, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because here you don't just learn to live better, you learn to play better.